Hello and welcome to Northwest Knitting. My name is Kathy and this is my knitting podcast where I come to you from Eugene, Oregon and talk to you about my knitting projects, yarns that I love, and my journey to make sustainable clothing. I'm very happy you came to join me here today, and this is what I can tell you about. I'll tell you about one finished object, one almost finished object, an exciting new whip, and some of the things I'm doing that are giving me great pleasure these days. So I hope you're doing well and you can get your knitting, maybe a cup of something, and join me. If you are coming back, thank you so much, and thank you particularly for those who comment. I really love it, and it's really my main purpose in being here. A couple things. I can be found on Ravelry as Northwest Knitting and also as Northwest Knitting on Instagram. So spring has fully sprung here. And we've just had many glorious days. Also, we had a little bit of a rainy period, but we've had wonderful weather. Unfortunately, for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, I was completely out of it. I was under the weather. I was on the couch, and I wasn't feeling well anyway. And then I took a fall and fell on my tailbone, and it was very bruised. Anyway, so I spent quite a bit of time knitting flat on my back, which requires some motivation and also limited what I could be doing. But nonetheless, I did complete my vest, which I'll tell you about, and most of another little project. And of course, I was watching YouTube podcasts and getting an awful lot of comfort and pleasure from the knitting world. So anyway, that was exciting. I'm in very good health. There's no problem. All is well. So these things happen. So let me tell you about my vest. Now, I am wearing, I hope it doesn't look, the light, it isn't too light here, but I resorted to putting on this very old dress shirt of mine, which is not my vibe anymore, since I don't dress up like that. But it was the only thing I had that really showed this on the camera. Everything else seemed, although I didn't come out here and try this light, so I probably do have some of my things, but it turns out that I do have a lot of things that go with this vest, but they're pretty dark actually, and I need some lighter colors. Or I do have some and they're a little worse for the wear. So, and one needed ironing. So here I am in my dress-up shirt, but I am wearing the Burgos vest by Rosa, Pomar, and I knit it out of yarn that I got at the estate sale. I talked about it last time, and I didn't have enough for the whole thing, so I ended up using a second. I had 2 skeins of this main color, which is Selkirk, from Selkirk Company, and I believe made in Canada, and it's 100% wool, Aran weight. I didn't have enough. Any of you who watched last week might have heard what I said I had and my plans to make a tunic length. And if you were listening very close, you should have thought, how is she going to make a tunic length out of that much yarn? And in truth, I did not. So I had this other purple yarn, and I ended up using some of that. And so let me show it to you. It's a very easy pattern. Okay, and you know the trick with these. See, this is why I don't like these shirts. It does have a lot of, this white shirt has a lot of spandex in it, actually. Thank heavens, which makes it still possible here. Anyway, you can see it's a really, I really loved this main yarn. This yarn, unfortunately, was not as high a quality, or was more loosely spun, and also bled like crazy on my hands. And I feel pretty good about it. My in-house fashion advisor questions the pocket, which I made out of the yarn I used here. He questions it. But I was thinking of actually embroidering it. It's just for fun. I don't know. We'll see. So I followed the pattern as usual. I picked a smaller size to fit me up here. And then I did add on probably 2 or 3 sets, 2 stitches on each side all the way down, and gave me this nice fitting vest. And I know that I will wear this. Whoop. I just tried to spill my tea all over. I know that I will wear this a lot in the winter. So it just, you have to pick up and knit the front band and also the armhole bands. And I feel it's a little wider than I might go for, but you know, that's kind of a style these days. I feel like it's okay. And this is really nice here. This little part. So this could be, you know, I think the original was very cropped and calls for worsted weight. It's just something that you could make a number of them. I think the next, I do want to make some more vests, and I think when I do, I'd like some that are a little higher up here. And so that's something I'm thinking about, or maybe I'm thinking of a pullover one. But it's real nice, and I know I could wear it over sweaters even. It's loose enough that I could fit over some of my sweaters if I'm really cold in the morning, you know, so it'll be really useful. And it costs $16, which is not a concern, but just, you know, just to remind all of us that knitting doesn't have to be very expensive. Also, it's 100% wool, not superwash, which always makes my heart happy. So anyway, this was a project that I was finishing up flat on my back, and I'm really happy to have that finished. And then I have another little I have a little sweater that I made for one of my youngest granddaughter, and I'm calling this still a whip because I am thinking about adding something. Here it is. So the pattern I used is from the Making Memories book, and it's the Alex. The name of the pattern is Alex, and it's a very, very simple pattern that has a little design. It has like a little V here that's designed, I think, to look like a sweatshirt. And very simple DK weight, 21 stitches to the inch, to 4 inches, and just really easy. It is top down raglan shaping, and I've made a couple. I made 2 of those, just really a good basic. And then my thought was possibly to add some embroidery. And so I was fiddling around with this. This is just a swatch. I should say, that I used 2 different yarn colors for this. I used the Queensland United, one in peppermint and one in lichen. So here's the peppermint. And I know there's a lichen around here somewhere. Oh yeah. No, this is the peppermint. This is the lichen. So you can see, and I still have actually way more left over than I expected. So that might turn into something eventually. But I thought holding it together really gave it a little more depth and was fun to do. And then I experimented, and okay, this one right here seemed okay. I was fiddling around. This one I used 2 strands of yarn, and I thought it was too much, but these 2 I did 1. So I'm thinking about that, and I also, of course, could use a contrast color, and so I may still do that. But the idea, where I got the idea was from Embroidery on Knits by Judith Gumlock, which I bought and I've showed you in past episodes. Well, actually, it's on the front. It's this right here. That's what inspired me. So anyway, I like the idea of the embroidery, and but it was, and I didn't have any of the stabilizer, so I just went for it by myself, you know, without any assistance, just the needle and the thread. But the idea was, I was thinking of squishing some flowers all along here. So I don't know. I've paused. And of course I could give it to her just like this. But anyway, I'm thinking of doing something. So so we'll see what happens with that. There is a pattern. Oh, I should show you. Because in the Making Memories book, she does have a sweet little cardigan where there's some embroidery, and see how sweet that is? So I could actually go in a different direction, and I might be happier doing something like that. I just think it's quite adorable. Here she is again. So I might do that instead. Just, we'll see. Lots of ideas here. Okay, now I have a new whip, and that is, I am working on the Garden Cardigan by Ankestrick. I think I showed it last time to you. It's an open front. You can see she's calling it the garden. I think she's dressing so casually because she's calling it a sweater for the garden. Although, to me, I don't know if you can really see it. It has lace here, and then what I really like is this neck. I just think it's fabulous, and I always love when Sarah on It Is a Sarah podcast, she talks about things being heart-jumping. And I'll tell you, last night when I was working on this whip, and the lace lined up, it was heart-jumping. It was just fabulous. So let me show you. This is what I have so far. You can see the little lacy bit there. And so this part right here is the back. And then this is the cast on edge. So you do a crochet cast on, and I need another hand here. I need an able assistant to hold this, but so you pick up and knit along the cast on edge to do. So right now I have done the first step of the back like this, and then I've cast on this. This right here is the front, and the way it works, and then I will pick up and knit on the rest of the back and overlap to do the left front. So right now I've done the right front. So what it'll do is it actually starts, the back does not start right at the shoulder here. It starts about an inch or two back, and that's where you can get that nice little crossover. Well, the nice exciting thing about this pattern is that, to my great joy, they line up really nicely. Oh, I was so happy, because I'm looking at this going, do I understand this? It's there's nothing in the pattern. If you've been knitting for a while, there's not any directions that are, there's nothing complicated or different. These are all you know, decreases and yarn overs for the lace. The lace is very quickly memorizable. I'm pretty sure that by the time I finished a swatch that I was pretty familiar with the lace pattern, and every other row is a purl. So if you don't like purl, that's a problem, but if you don't mind, you don't have to think about it. It's a resting row. And then when you're doing, when you're at it, so here we are. This is the back, just to reorient you. This is the front. And you can see that there's short rows all along here. And this shapes the shoulder area, which will be right up here. So I did find that I had to be, during this part, I had to be very careful and thoughtful and pay attention. And I use a highlighter tape. Okay, that's Burgos. Oh yeah, here's this one. I use a highlighter tape, and which I mark where I am, so I always leave it that whatever I'm supposed to do when I pick up the whole project is what's highlighted. So that's the new thing. I never leave it at the old thing most of the time. So anyway, that has been really fun, and I think a lot of it is because of the lace makes it so much more interesting than if I were working on a stockinette. So anyway, so much fun. So what am I using? Well, I have made so many swatches. Oh my goodness. I have been really flailing around, so I'm saving you. I am not sharing with you all of my flailing around here, but just let me say that I did a lot of swatching over the last week or so of things that I'm not doing right now. Here's a Tuca wool DK. That's a plan. My pressed flowers vest is still something I want to do. At first I thought I would use my Lichen and Lace Frost for this garden pullover, and it surprisingly had quite a lot of variation in the color. I don't know if you can see, it does, yeah, it shows up a little bit. And I had just worked on my calliope, which had a lot of variation. And even though it makes a nice fabric, I thought, I don't know if I really want that. So I stopped that. And then I thought, oh, I have my Jamieson Smith 2-ply fingering. If I held it together, that would work for this pattern. Ankestrick has, her prototype is a fingering plus mohair, I think. I think it's fingering plus mohair, or fingering plus lace. And it's about 19 stitches for every 4 inches. So I thought if I held Jamieson Smith together, so this is the colorway FC61, and I felt like it was crunchier than I was thinking of for a spring garment. And part of me is influenced because I keep looking at all the project pages of the people who have done this pattern, and everybody's looks softer and more fluid. And so I ended up with what I'm doing here. So it's a combination of the FC61 Jamieson Smith 2-ply, which I have on a cone and still has the spinning oil in it, and a mohair. So these two right here are making this. And really, it's all about the fact that I wanted a blue sweater right now. And I don't really have that many sweaters that go with my summer tops. I have one that goes with all the purpley tops, and then I didn't have anything that really went with blue, and I have a little blue skirt, and I have 2 blue skirts and some blue linen pants, and I just really wanted blue. So there we go. So here I am, after all I said about mohair last time, here I am back at mohair. It is, so it's not as crunchy as it would be by itself, but it's still pretty firm. It's not like, you know, super drapey, but I haven't washed it yet. I did not wind it off like I did with my Alpine Bloom sweater. I am just knitting it. Well, I wound some off just to experiment with it and not carry it around. But I'm not washing it ahead of time. So I know this will soften up quite a bit. So where I am right now is I have quite a few inches left on the front, on the right front, and then I will pick up a knit, and it looks like what I do is for these 12 overlapping stitches, she has you pick up through the back loop only, and then when I pick up for the overlapping part here, I will pick up through the front loop, which you can still see the loop, and then pick up along here, and hopefully the second side will be as straight on as the first. So it's definitely that picking up, and also the short roast for me was not a TV watching, hang out with friends type of deal. I really did have to focus. But then as soon as I got back, once the short rows were over and now I'm just in the pattern, I can do this. And also I can read. I think most of you would be able to just, after you've done a little bit of this lace pattern, then you probably could do it watching television. So at least I was doing that last night. So far so good. So that has been very, very exciting and heart-jumping for me. I have really enjoyed it. My hope is to, once I get the fronts going, and then I'll just, at some point when you join for sleeves, then there's just, will be quite a bunch of knitting. And then I'm hoping by then to start another project so that I have one more demanding one going at one time and then another easy one. So that's the theory anyway. Okay, so let me tell you, I have some notes here so I don't get too confused or forgetful. Okay, well, while I was not feeling well, I quickly, even though I've been trying to knit from stash, and the garden pullover is from stash. Oh, before I forget, I did not tell you where the mohair was from. The mohair, and she had many more that might have gone a little bit better with what I'm doing, but I saw this color last summer and I just had to have it. So it's the Greenwood hand-dyed company. She does phenomenal dyeing, and I would probably buy her out every year, except she has almost all of it is superwash. So the only thing that wasn't, that I really wanted, was the mohair. Everything else pretty much is superwash, but her dyeing is fantastic. So here we are, and the this particular yarn is called Fine Fluff Lace Weight Yarn, 72% kid mohair, 26% silk, 50 grams, 459 yards, and it is in the Cornflower colorway. And she had some more grayish colors, so I had 2 skeins of this. So the question is, just to point out once again my propensity to buy just maybe barely enough. Hopefully this will be enough, but I might be cutting it close. So I will, not close, obviously I can knit a sweater for about 1,000 yards, with 1,000 yards, but will it be as long as I want? Hard to say. But this is more of a summer top cardigan. So what I will do is I'll get the sleeves going, get a pretty good idea of how much I have left, and just kind of go back and forth until I use up what I have, probably. Or who knows, maybe I'll have some left over. You never know. But I do think I'm using less yarn with the lace. It's just, there is a lot of lace here. So we'll see about that. But just one more reminder, get enough yarn. And then I promptly failed in that. So I ordered some yarn right as soon as I was laid up. And I bought some yarn from Making Stories. And the reason is, for a couple reasons, they're in Germany. Making Stories is yarns and patterns for the sustainability loving knitter. And I ended up getting some Derurum Natura, although why it's not on this tag, I don't know, but Antigone. So this is 100% linen. It is I think they called it sport weight. It's grown in Normandy without pesticides, and everything it comes in. I have another skein around here somewhere, so I got 3 skeins. Comes in this nice box, no plastic, with a sweet little thank you card. Very adorable. And 10% off the next order on their website. Now, normally, I don't buy a lot from Europe, and that's why Woolly Thistle is so appealing, because they have so many yarns from Europe, but they're shipped over here, and also they just reduce their shipping costs. So if you've been frustrated by how expensive shipping is, they have such beautiful yarns. Maybe like me, you might try out some yarns from Woolly Thistle that you hadn't wanted to spend the I think it was almost $10 in shipping the last time, and if you're only going to buy a couple skeins, it has given me pause. But anyway, there are a couple I'd like to try, particularly their new sock yarn. That's their own yarn called Rambler. So anyway, reduced shipping. But in the meantime, I have quite a bit. I forget how much. It's 260 meters, so it's like 284 for each of these. So I have something like 850, I forget, but well over 800, and I'm looking for a summer pattern. Now, I did do a swatch, and I have a funny feeling. Did I leave it here? I hate to have you keep looking at the top of my head here. Oh, here it is. And the color of this one is called Pensée, P-E-N-S-E-E. Blue Thoughts, maybe? You can see, color coordinated. Here is my swatch. And I knit this on size 4, and you can see it's pretty transparent. So I am a loose knitter. It's very drapey. So I'm not sure. I've seen some tops that I really liked. I would love to do something lacy with this. There's a new well, there's all kinds of patterns I've been seeing, but I know that Crayabea has a new one that's testing, and ooh, I really like that. But again, it's a heavier weight yarn that she uses. So anyway, I have looked at some of the ones, like last year I made Salty Air. I'd love it if I could find something with maybe a little more lace over it. I looked at the Florencia, and that's an idea. My only issue with that one is well, I had 2 issues with it. One is it felt like it came up a little high, and also it seems to be cut narrow, but I'm sure I could figure out a way to make it go a little bit more this way, but somehow that one isn't fully grabbing me. So anyway, I am thinking about that. So I'll see what happens with this. If you have any great patterns that you're recommending, let me know. But I think I probably would go down to size 3 and see what that looks like. And this is blocked, by the way. So it's very, it is linen. It's not terrible to work with. It's not like, really cutting into me or anything like that, but it is linen. It's pretty drapey at this gauge. So I did think about some little short sleeve top that might be, you know, something you wear over a camisole. But normally I don't want to have it over a camisole, so that's kind of what I'm thinking. But that was my treat, and I haven't ordered yarn in a while, and just to get this in the mail was just really what the doctor ordered. So there's that. And I did go to Halsey recently, and do I have that yarn? Oh yeah, here it is back here. I got some yarn. It's called Sustainable, 100% Midwest fine wools from Utopia, and it includes Targhee, Rambouillet, Merino, and CVM. And I have to say that right now, I can't remember what CVM is, so maybe you could tell me. It's, I believe it's considered DK weight. This is the Bluebird colorway. So I'm back to blue again, folks. And it's wound pretty tightly, and as soon as I caked it up, it looks really fat to me. So they're calling it DK, but I haven't swatched with it yet, but I really think that I could substitute this for worsted, unless it knits up different than I'm expecting. But just look how chubby it is. It's chubby. I love it. So I am thinking of a little cardigan, and I have a couple ideas, and we'll try and hopefully have something more concrete by my next visit. But anyway, it is it's from Viroqua, Wisconsin, processed at Utopia Fiber Mill. And there's a whole thing in here about the yarn is processed and hand-dyed in small batches. The wool in this yarn supports local, organic, restorative agriculture. The sheep are loved and humanely treated. I love that. We use metal-free professional acid dyes that have superior color fastness and vibrancy of color. This makes your yarn safe for the environment and also for you. If you are into greens and oranges and all those colors, they have some fabulous choices in this yarn. I really like, in fact, I wished they had this blue and a very pale blue, and the pale blue is nice. And Kim from Youthful Fiber is knitting something with the pale blue. And at first I wasn't feeling this. So after, what I like is if you keep going back to a place, you can keep seeing it. And I kept being drawn to it and drawn to it. And I thought this would make a very fun little cardigan. So here I am. And I love, absolutely love supporting this yarn company. So that feels really good. Okay, what else? I have told you about that. Okay, I'm going to, oh, I have two things. I signed up for two group events, activities. One is Kate Davies has a Summer of Mystery event, and unfortunately, I'm pretty sure it's too late to sign up, but you could look at it just to get a flavor of whether you'd be interested in any of hers in the future. I did one once before, what I like is when you do it, she writes a lot of essays. She's a wonderful writer and was a historian, and I really enjoy her thoughts about things related to both yarn and also other topics. She talks a lot about color and art and all kinds of things. So this is a, I'm pretty sure there's a shawl knit along as part of it. There's a read along where we're reading books by Marguerite Allingham, who was a writer in like the 30s and 40s, I think, maybe 20s, 30s, and 40s. So I've gotten one book from the library, and I got one at the public library sale last weekend. So I have 2 books ready to read, and she's a mystery writer. And then Kate Davies will be releasing a number of patterns throughout the summer. And I believe you get a discount. I believe there's a small discount on her yarn. She'll be mostly designing, I believe she'll be designing all of them actually, with her Milwaukee tweed. I'm not sure I'm saying that right, but, even though I do have some in my stash, so I do probably have enough to do something like mitts or a hat, but I also have so much Shetland fingering weight yarn that and the cones of the Jamieson and Smith, so I think I will probably use mostly that, but it would be fun to get out my the rest of my Milwaukee tweed as well. So I have a terrible track record at actually finishing any knit along. The calliope that I did, that I talked about last episode, it was the first time I've ever actually done a knit along and did it, and I can't say I was a great at joining in, but I did really enjoy seeing what everybody else was doing and knitting along, and so I did enjoy it, and so maybe I do have future as a knit alonger, but I'm so moody and I get along here and then I change my mind, and so we'll see. But then I also signed up for another knit along. This one was a little bit less of a commitment, although the Kate Davies is not very expensive. I forget what it was. Was it $40 or something for patterns and all of it? But I have been wanting to knit something by Carol Feller for a really long time. And so I believe in May, and I do believe there's time to sign up for this one. She is doing a knit along for a cardigan called Torc, T-O-R-C. And unfortunately, my printer died just after I printed the back. So here's the back. So you can do either a long sleeve cardigan or a cap sleeve. And I imagine myself doing a, like right there, doing a shorter sleeve. And it has a nice V-neck, and all of this, I don't know if you can see. Can you see? It's got like a gansy, all kinds of interesting designs in there, probably just pearls and knits, and it's, I really thought it was flattering in the front, and so she has used her Nua Sport, and I have some of that, and then for the short-sleeved one, she's using the Bio, is it Bio Balance? No, Bio something, Shetland. But hold on, because I'm going to get my Nua, which I have right here. And this is what I have. And I've had this for a while. I either got it early in the pandemic or I got it in a little place on the coast. I don't think it was Coos Bay, but it was either Coos Bay or Reedsport. And the Nua, let's see if I can, this is, I've showed it to you before because I keep thinking I'm going to make something out of it. And I actually bought enough to make a vest that was in one of the Modern Daily Knitting little books they have, and it was called the Trellis Top, and I thought about that, and I just kept not getting around to it, and here it is. So I have enough for a vest, so I believe I would have enough to do a short-sleeved cardigan of the Torc or cap sleeve. And this is 60% merino wool, 20% yak, 20% linen. So, and it's 153 yards, 140 meters for each skein. And I am pretty sure I have something like 900 and something yards. So it's definitely a vest amount. And once again, you remember I still want to make a tunic length vest. This will not be it. But on the plus side, I would use up some yarn that I've had for at least 3 years. And that would make me feel really happy. And it's really beautiful, soft yarn. The colorway is called Late Night Blues. And it probably, she's recommending the yarn for the short sleeve version to be more of a cotton wool, and this is her, she used Nua for that, but I know people have also used Nua for short sleeve summer tops. So I think if it's not, if it's loose enough, then it probably could go for a lot of our summer. We'll see. Signing up for that just means buying the pattern, and it's also released as a mystery, so you know what you're knitting, but there's clues, and I think that will keep everybody more or less on the same path and not anybody too far ahead. I don't know if that's her thought, but it struck me that it would accomplish that. Otherwise, you know, knit-alongs can, I think also she's going to have, I think she has quite a few video tutorials. So if you haven't knit anything by Carol Feller before, you could join me in doing this, and I think it could be a real learning experience as well. So anyway, those are the things I'm doing. You can see it's all blue, blue, blue ahead. That's definitely what we're doing here. And I think that's it for the knitting. I'm just going to share a few things if you want to stick around. One is, so, oh my gosh, I have been watching. I have to say that instead of being outside and gardening well, I have been out lately and started working on our veggie garden, and that's been delightful, but there was a lot of good weather where I was happy it was sunny in the front room where I was sitting, but I was not out in the garden. I could hear everybody out there working away, and I am, you know, not gardening, but I watched more television probably than I should. And one of the things we've been watching was Shogun, so I think there's one more episode. The reason and it's pretty good. It's kind of violent. It's kind of medieval Japan, around 16, or is it past? I don't know when the Middle Ages really ran through, but it's 1600, I think. And really love the main actress in it, and her name is Anna, I think it's Sawai or Sawai maybe. And she was on Stephen Colbert, and the reason I see it is she popped up on a knitting feed because while she was interviewing him, she said she had so many lines that she had to recite when they weren't actually, she was translating. Her character translates for an Englishman who was cast ashore up on the coast of Japan, and so she's his translator, and she has a lot of lines, she said, where she wasn't being filmed, but she had to be speaking and had many, many lines to memorize. And so she took up knitting, and she knit a blanket and then knit him a little case for his glasses. And I'll put a link to that. It gave me great pleasure. The other thing is I got to go to a revival of My Fair Lady came to Eugene, and I got to go. Dennis ushers. I always feel like that means I'm getting a half-price ticket, although I'm not. And I just really, really enjoyed it. When I was a kid, they made a movie of My Fair Lady in 1964 with Rex Harrison and Audrey Hepburn. And I remember here, I think we had the album, I heard the music and so forth. The revival was excellent. The scenery was delightful. There was always something pretty and interesting to look at. The performing was really excellent. But I was a little bit wondering how they were going to end it, because the show is based on a play called Pygmalion by George Bernard Shaw, and his ending was not as Hollywood as the movie that they made. And so the movie had kind of a whole different vibe to it. And as I was thinking about it, I realized that my sensibilities, my thought of what was, you know, good for a young woman, thinking of myself as a young woman, maybe wasn't going to involve marrying a confirmed old bachelor who's, you know, 30 years older than me. So, not to say there aren't wonderful, wonderful relationships where there's a huge age disparity, but he also was very unkind to her a lot of the time. I don't know. I just looked at it so differently as a much, much older person. I think I was, oh my gosh, I wasn't even fully a teenager by the time when I saw that. So anyway, I had a very romantic view of it, and I thought, how are they going to end it? Are they going to end it the way the movie did? Or are they going to end it the way George Bernard Shaw did Pygmalion? And they went with Pygmalion ending. And so then I had to go get a copy of Pygmalion because George Bernard Shaw apparently, I Googled the heck out of Pygmalion ending. And George Bernard Shaw apparently had so much negative feedback about the ending that he wrote he calls it a sequel, but it's actually a narrative, because he's written a play and then he writes a narrative at the end of the print copy explaining why he ended it the way he ended it. And oh my gosh, it is delightful. His analysis of this, he wrote the play in 1913 and he wrote this analysis in 1914, and he just sounded so current day, so 21st century. So that was very, very fun. And then I also went to a play, I did these very recently, I went to a play at, we have a very little theater. It's actually within walking distance of my house. And they had a play called The Alabama Story about book banning, but more complicated than that. The rights between, the relationship between blacks and whites in Alabama in like 1959, I think. And it was one of the best plays I've ever been to. And this was just down the street at a local theater, very reasonably priced tickets. So if you ever get to see that play, it's fairly new. I highly recommend it. It's I think, based on a true story of a book, and it's about bunny rabbits. And the illustrator was Garth Williams, who I think it's Garth Williams. It was Garth Williams, I believe, who also did the illustrations for Charlotte's Web. And many of us are quite familiar with those very, very charming illustrations. Well, he did this book, and it was about a white bunny rabbit and a black bunny rabbit have a wedding. And that was the source of complaint that is the subject of the play. And it's really excellent, and I highly recommend it. Okay, well, I am finishing up here, and maybe just keep it under an hour, just barely. But for somebody who was not able to work at full steam, I seem to have plenty to talk about today. So I hope you're doing well. I hope you're enjoying the change of season wherever you may be in the world. And I really appreciate you watching me. And next episode, I am going to do a giveaway. So I'm just trying to figure out exactly what I'm going to do. But I will announce that at the last episode, at the next episode. So thanks for watching, and happy knitting.